All right, hi guys. This is Alex again from Zaku. And today we're gonna create two dishes using this Nakiri knife. So in our previous video, we cooked chicken katsu curry, where chicken katsu or katsu could be eaten with curry, but it can also be a meal on its own. So in Japan, we call these set meals a Teishoku. And it comes with a main, a side dish, usually with rice and miso soup. So today, instead of doing the main, we're gonna feature two dishes. One is a potato salad, which is kind of like a side dish, a very popular, it's a staple side dish, Japanese style potato salad. And the second dish will be a vegetable miso soup. And having those put together, we can have a complete Japanese set meal. All right, so let's get into the ingredients. Introducing today's ingredients. So for the potato salad, obviously we need potatoes. So we have 5 medium-sized potatoes. We have 2 boiled eggs, 3 pieces of ham. We have a little bit of onion, some Japanese-style cucumbers, and a little bit of carrots. And for condiments, we have white wine vinegar. We have some grainy mustard, salt and pepper, and our Kewpie mayo. Okay, so our first step today with our potato salad is wash these potatoes. These are already washed. So we're gonna get boiling them for about 20 minutes for this size. And this is the longest process that'll take. So we'll have the potatoes boiling and we'll do all the prep while the potato is ready. You can use microwaves to cook these potatoes. I know it's an easy way, but using actually boiling them brings out even cooking and also brings out the sweetness of the potatoes. So if you do have the time, I definitely recommend the boiling. All right. So I already have some water in there, starting at room temperature. I'm just gonna put these potatoes in here. Make sure they're submerged. Looks good. All right, see these guys later. All right, so while the potatoes are cooking, we have about 20 minutes. So in the meanwhile, we'll do the rest of the prep, which means we are doing some cutting. And in this video, we are featuring this Nakiri knife. Nakiri knife. You can see this shape is a little bit different from the rest of our knives. It's a more, let's say, square type blade. Nakiri literally means, means leaf, and kiri means to cut. So nakiri usually is used to not just cutting leaves, but is great for vegetables overall. The shape of this knife allows you to cut very evenly because of this short blade. It's a push type knife instead of like your long blades where you kind of pull right to slice. This is more kind of a cutting knife and helps you cut vegetables very easily. This also, the shape resembles a little bit of like a Chinese chef's knife, which is generally much larger, but you can see this a little bit more compact. So it's a little bit more versatile and really easy to handle. This Zaku Nakiri is made of V10 steel, very durable. As with all of our knives, we do have that Damascus pattern, which is really, really beautiful, but not to mention the handle as well. This one is made with walnut and resin, and you can see the different patterns here, which is also really cool and beautiful. So yeah, let's see how this knife cuts. With the Nakiri, it's very easy to slice through these hard vegetables like that. For a cut today, we want some really thin slices. Carrots are kind of like for color as well. So an even slice from the top. And you want to make this as thin as possible. Again, right, if you have thick pieces, you're going to get really oniony flavors. So you can definitely use a slicer. Honestly, you can just do it with one knife. Why not? And I'll put this here. And you might be wondering why I'm separating all these ingredients in here. Is because now we're gonna lightly marinate them and salt them, or basically pickle them, just for a very short period of time, which helps dehydrate these veggies, also make them a little bit more flavorful and also softer. So add a little salt. You don't have to use pink Himalayan salt. You can use whatever salt is on your table, just your daily salt. Give them a little massage. Make sure every piece is a little salt. Just like that. And we can mix that in with our salad later. And for our last ingredient here today, we're gonna add 2 boiled eggs. All right, that was an extra 2-3 minutes. So let's double check on how our potatoes are doing. Give these guys a little poke. Yep. Looks good. All right, so let's drain the water. Don't burn yourself here. Okay. All right, literally hot potato. I'm gonna put it back in here. And one of the reasons why I didn't peel them earlier, because this is an easier way to actually peel your potatoes. Or if you really like your skin, right, you can definitely keep the skin on. Cut that in half, right? These are soft potatoes. If you can give them a little push, you can see the skin crackle a little bit, which makes it easy to take off the skin. There you have it. All right, so we're gonna do this for the rest of the potatoes. Whew, hot. Okay, we're in our final phase of this dish, and we're done with the peeling process. And you can see the steam, and it's important that we actually flavor these potatoes while it's still hot, because they really absorb the flavor. So what we're gonna be using today is, first of all, doing a little bit of white wine vinegar over here. Just overall. Do a little salt and pepper. And this will be the base flavor. Obviously, we're gonna be adding the mayo later, but you wanna make sure they do have that base flavor. Adding a little bit of that black pepper as well. And here, you can start kind of mashing your potatoes. And you don't have to mash them evenly. We're not making mashed potatoes here, so you kind of want that texture, right? So this is obviously depends on your taste, right? If you want bigger chunks, you can leave it to that. If you want smaller chunks, right, you can definitely chunk it smaller. So this is to your preference. I tend to like it having some chunk, right, instead of having a mushy, right, mayo mashed potato. So I tend to leave some pieces in there. So let's put our ham in there. There, and our boiled eggs. If you don't mind getting your hands dirty, you can really mash them, or you can have them cut. That's up to you. Right, I like the inconsistency. I like the different textures, sizes here. So I tend to mash them with my hands. Don't get afraid to get your hands dirty. And lastly, to the cut up vegetables here. So you can see that these guys have sweated a lot, right, because of the salt. So you don't want to get that in there. So you want to make sure, kind of squeeze that out, I get that liquid out. Then add them to your salad. Right, they still do have some crunch, but they've definitely become a little bit more softer. Add them, and lastly, same for the onions. Okay. And last but not least, our favorite Kewpie mayo. So I've heard the Kewpie mayo in the US and Japan are slightly different flavors. They have a slightly different ingredients. I've never had the chance to try the ones in the US, but I'm sure they're still really good. So let's all put that together. And you can see that this potato salad is quite vibrant, right? You got a lot of color, textures, which I think is the fun part about adding all these ingredients. Because potato salad can be quite bland, to be honest, right? It could be just mayo with your like chicken salad or things like that. But instead having all these ingredients, right? It's not just your little tiny side dish, but it's actually a fun, substantial dish itself. Adding the Dijon mustard here. You don't want to add too much of this Dijon mustard. It does have a quite powerful taste. It is also quite sour. This is more of a little secret ingredient there, right? You just want a subtle flavor of that Dijon. But if you really like mustard, obviously feel free to add more. Let's give it a little taste. It's perfect. Now, I think we can get to the plating. All right, so as our second part of our Teishoku, or Japanese set meal, we are gonna be creating miso soup, or vegetable miso soup today. And I think miso soup is such a Japanese staple that everyone has miso soup almost every day. It comes with almost every dish. It could come for breakfast, you could have it for lunch, you could have it for dinner, and they come in such different varieties. Honestly speaking, there are really not much rules with miso soup, but there definitely are some tips to make your miso soup really good. So let me show you how I would create my vegetable miso soup. For today's toppings, I have several types of vegetables, 2 types of tofu, which I'll showcase. So starting here, this is aburaage. This is a type of fried tofu, and this is your normal tofu. Then here we have daikon, or Japanese radish. We're not going to be using the whole thing. I just wanted to show you what it looks like. Then we have our kind of green onions for a little garnish at the end. We have negi, the Japanese leek. Here we have some cabbage. And otherwise for the condiments, we have dashi here. And of course, our miso. Okay, we're gonna start cutting our vegetables that we're gonna include in our miso soup today. Let me start off with the daikons here. And there's many different ways of cutting daikon, but today I'm gonna do a cut called ichogiri. Icho literally means ginkgo, right? So when we cut it, these individual pieces look like ginkgo leaves. So let me show you how. First of all, kind of like that, right? And when you see that, that's basically the shape of the ginkgo leaf. So if you want to put in a lot, you can put them together, cut them. I wouldn't make them too thin. I would say somewhere about maybe 2 to 3 milliliters. Something like that. So let me go on. Again, the nakiri is perfect for vegetables. It's really easy to kind of slice through even cuts because the blade here at the bottom is straight as opposed to a lot of chef knives which are, right, which has a little angle to them. All right, so that is our daikon. We can already put that into this pot. And we're gonna do the daikon first because it generally takes a little longer to cook compared to the other vegetables. So we're gonna start with these guys. And next, the cabbage. You don't need to use the whole thing, but again, what you want to do is try to get a similar size, even cut. So when you eat your soup, right, all pieces are somewhat even and not unbalanced. Okay. There we go. Even-sized pieces. Okay, we're gonna put this to the side because we're not gonna cook them. They cook rather quickly. And we'll do the last bits here. There we go. So a very popular ingredient in miso soup. Once you cook them, they become really sweet. So you want to give them a little thickness like here, cut them diagonally. And as you cook them, they get really soft and tender and melty. So we'll put this in later as well. As for the green onions, I'll do this at the end because this will be our last topping. And let's do our karaage before we forget. So again, you want somewhat even pieces. So maybe we can do half, half, then maybe thirds. All right, looking good. Okay, so now that we have all our ingredients cut, we're gonna go into the cooking. And I've already added some water to the pot with the daikons. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm adding the daikons earlier because they just generally take a little bit longer to cook compared to these ingredients. So whenever you try to do your own arrangement of different toppings, right, you always wanna keep in mind, when do you wanna add the ingredients to get that consistent hardness with your ingredients. So usually if you don't have the daikons, you don't have any ingredients in yet, but you generally start off with making the dashi. And for those of you who don't know what dashi is basically means broth in Japanese, and which is kind of like the base kind of flavor for all Japanese cooking. And normally, dashi in Japanese cooking it's a very long process to actually get your broth. You have to start with your kelp, right? Seaweed kelp dashi, and then you add your bonito flake dashi, and you combine them, which is already a task itself. So nowadays, there are easy substitutes, such as these, right? Dashi powder, or you even have these tea bag style dashi, where you can just pop it into your boiling water and it basically makes your dashi for you. So today I'm just going to use these packet dashis, right? You can literally just put them in your water, and because we have a lot of soup today, we can put in 2 and have that come to a boil. Okay. Okay, it's been about 5 minutes since I've been boiling the dashi and the daikon. So you can see that the broth has turned more golden here. So I think the dashi is all good. If I keep on boiling these, you'll get a little bit more bitterness. So I think we can take this out. And we can also see that the daikons here are slowly, right, turning more translucent here, which means they're half cooked. So at this point, I think we're ready to add our the rest of their veggies, which we can cook for 5 minutes or so. So let's add them. The negi, right? Japanese leeks. And I can add some cabbage. I may have a little bit too much, so I'm going to control how much we put in there. Oh, before we go, we're going to also add these aburaage, these chopped up fried tofu. And these are great for miso soup. because these are fried, they give you a lot more flavor to your soup. And yeah, there's a combination of these, tofu and I think seaweed, right, is the most popular style of miso soup around. But today we're mixing it with some veggies. We're gonna add the tofu here because you don't want to overcook it, right? Tofu can be eaten raw. So we're just gonna cut it into bite-sized pieces. The rather small tofu, maybe we can cut it into 3s. And last there. And be careful not to splash yourself. So when we cook miso soup, it's interesting that we don't actually cook the soup with the miso. You're only adding the miso at the end. So I can even turn off the heat here and just add and mix in the miso to add that little saltiness and umami to your soup. And how much miso to add? Obviously this really depends on how salty or less salty you want. But generally speaking, I would say one teaspoon, maybe for one bowl, is a general, I think, easy way to kind of remember. But you can definitely add more and taste along the way you go. So you can use a spoon like this, right, to stir the miso, make sure it melts well, right? You don't want chunks of miso suddenly in your bite. Let's add a little bit more. There's also a lot of different types of miso in Japan. This one I think is called koji miso. Uses a lot of koji, which is kind of like yeast, which is also very healthy for your gut. There are many different types. There's darker miso, white miso, and they're enjoyed in different parts of Japan. So if you're curious, right, try to go out and find your favorite miso, and you can make your own customized miso soup. All right, let's give it a little taste test. It's really good. You can really taste the flavors out of the vegetables. They're really sweet. And now I think we can plate our bowl. So find a good balance of your toppings or ingredients. Get a little bit of daikon, tofu, cabbage, and that negi. There we go, and once we get that in, just for a little garnish and a little bit of that oniony flavor, we can add that spring onions at the end to make your bowl a little bit more prettier. That looks good. And there you have it. This is our miso soup. All right, that completes our lunch for today. Chicken katsu teishoku with Japanese potato salad, vegetable miso soup. With the nakiri today, we were able to cut a lot of different types of vegetables, different cuts, different sizes, but this really made it easy to cut, even cuts. So yeah, if you're really interested in making a healthy meal for yourself or your partner, for anyone, please give it a try and also give this knife a try. All right, thanks for watching, guys. If you liked the video, please check out the descriptions for the recipes of today's meal and check out the link for our Zaku knives. All right, see you next time. Happy cooking.